You joined me for another video. This one's interesting, and this will be a replacement video. I actually made a video about these Escort EXP chair rails a few years ago, back when I had I finally got in a few loose Escort chair rails, but now I've acquired a few others, and yeah, I found a few more unique pieces. So without further ado, let's dive on into it. So in front of me I have three Escort chairs, seats, whatever you like to call them. They're the same exact pattern, different colors, but the same exact pattern, same exact shape. They're all high backs. They all have the same vinyl sides and backs with the cloth, kind of like the diamond weave kind of deal in the centers. So they're all exactly the same. I even have a fourth one over there, but these are the three main chair rail differences here. And what's interesting is all of these are from, well, they're all from the same car, but what's interesting is they're different. They all have some distinct differences. So let me show you some. Now on the far right, these two chairs are a pair. They came from the same car. This one's got the chair rails that came with these seats. This one I put EXP and LN7 rails on, so you can see those compared to the Escort ones. Side by side, there's a lot of differences between these. The biggest one being the height. Let me grab you a fresh one here. I'll stick it right here. And as you can see, there's a massive height difference. I'll write down the differences in the description, but they do have the same exact footprint. See how those bolt holes line up? And these bolt holes line up if I just hold it correctly. There we go. So it's the same exact bolt pattern. And these will fit either chair perfectly fine. Because the chairs have a few bolt holes. You can see the Escort one. This one in particular has a higher bolt hole than this other one. But the bolt holes for the tops are exactly the same, or I should say the fronts of the seat. But there is a definite height difference. Here, we can actually see it better when I hold these two over here. So let's do that real quick. There we are. So this here is the height difference. It's a good the EXPs are about 2 inches lower in the rear and 1 inch lower in the front. So that means that the EXP seats have more rake to them. What do I mean by that? I mean, if this is your chair, the EXPs tilt back like this a little bit more than Escorts do. And it is kind of noticeable. You'd have to be paying attention to notice it, but the biggest difference between them is just the height. And the height is quite apparent because these high backs with the Escort rails, they barely fit through the door of an EXP. They barely fit. And once they're in, their head clearance does become an immediate concern for anyone in it. Towards the end of the video, we'll actually put one of each chair rail inside the car so you can see what the difference is in a car. Not just, the parts themselves side by side. But the EXP ones, they slide in like butter because, like I said, they're about 2 inches shorter all around, and that helps. And then of course they have proper head clearance. They have your head at the right spot in the window. With Escort ones, your head will be pretty close to the roof. The EXP ones are down 2 more inches, and then you can actually see out the whole window like you ought to, assuming your torso is a standard height for an adult. So that's the EXP and LN7 one. This is one of the main Escort ones. These are what I've seen pretty much everything so far. But what's interesting with these is they have a further forward bolt hole for these guys, plus a stop. Even the non-locking side has that stop. But what's interesting is the same exact one over here does not. Yeah, and this is I'm not sure why they did this. It doesn't make sense to me why they would have that when they could just have that in every single car. And I believe this one, geez, let's run the part numbers here. This says E8 or EB. This one says EB. Oh, this one starts with E4. This one's an E8, so this might be a later one. Yeah, so this could be like a 87, 88. Oh, I take that back. There's a 4 here. So these are both the same foam molds anyways. I don't know about the whole rest of the seats, but they are the same foam molds. Yeah, and the part stampings on these guys are exactly the same. But yeah, there is a very obvious difference in that stop versus no stop. And here's what's fascinating: these gray seats, they came out of a 2-door Lynx. So yeah, it's not a 2-door versus 4-door thing. I don't know why this one has shorter travel than this one. It's easy to cure if you don't like that these don't go forward. Let's see. Yeah, the seat would be going forward all the way. The easiest thing to do is take an angle grinder and nip this guy gone. And then just, instead of using this bolt hole, use that lower one instead. And that allows these guys to travel the entire way down until they do actually stop. I believe what they stop, there's some sort of stopping pin or something along the rails, and it does stop all of them. I can't remember what stops them, but if you just angle grind that stop off, relocate that bolt, this will have this full travel. This one does. And I brought up the 2-door thing because since these are in the 2 doors, it should be able to slide, as close to steering wheel as possible, because there's no other way to get into the back seat. You have to move the front seat to get into the back seat. Whereas this one, it could have come from a 4-door, but let's move the chair rail as far down as it goes, and it's not me restricting their movement. I'm taking them to their limits. Look at that. That's quite the difference, huh? And it is only that stop pin on the racks. The difference of about 1.5 inches of travel. So if you are struggling to get into your 2-door Escort or Lynx, take these guys, modify them. You'll thank me later. It'll allow the seat to get a lot closer to the dashboard. Hold on a sec. Okay, so I took a look at my other red seat here, and this was interesting. This one also has the stops, but no additional hole. All right, so this oh boy, here we are with more questions than answers. This don't happen very often. Yeah, so what's on that seat is this minus the extra hole, and that is this, but with the added stop and the extra hole. So I don't know if this discrepancy is one side is supposed to, let's say these are supposed to be for the let's say that these rails are supposed to be for the driver's side, then the seat doesn't come forward and smack the steering wheel, and these other ones that travel further are for the passenger side, because there's no steering wheel, so the chair can come up further forward on the dash, if you can picture that, because the steering wheel goes a lot further back than the dashboard. Maybe that's the difference. If I find out, I'll say so in the description. If you guys know, do say so in the comments. But I find all this very fascinating. I don't have more of these guys to find out. But I do have a stock 81 Escort that hasn't been, well, it has been monkeyed with. Someone moved the left seat over to the right. So I can check that, and if there is a difference in how far they travel, I'll say so anyways. But yeah, another difference is for whatever reason, some of these don't have an oval here cut into them, and others do. I don't know if that was a cost-cutting procedure to stop cutting holes in these, because I'm pretty sure this is a later one. This is supposed to be from like 87 to 88. This one's for sure an 84. So eventually they did stop cutting slots in these. So if you're building an Escort race car, the thing to do is find one of these older ones, and they'll save you a couple pounds, between the two seats. The total of 4 slots might save you half a pound. I don't know. It's not much, but that's something to look into if you do actually do genuine racing and you have to have factory Ford parts. Those are factory Ford parts. They're not modified, but they're going to be lighter than this one. So that is something to keep in mind. But I'll pause the video real quick. We'll put these 2 seats inside this car, and then you'll be able to see how the EXP seats compare with the Escort seats, or the Escort chair rails compared to the EXP chair rails. So let me do that, and we'll check back in. And here we are. I got the 2 seats in, and like I said, the one has EXP LN7 chair rails, the other one has Escort Lynx chair rails, and you might not be able to tell the difference from here, but you get down like this, and the difference is quite apparent, especially from here. That passenger seat is a lot taller now. It's hard to see on camera, but it is very apparent with the naked eye. We get down, you get to let the headrests we get level with the top of the driver headrest. You can see that the passenger one is a lot taller by about 2 inches. And we go parallel here. The passenger headrest is also forward a bit, and I have both of these sitting at the same spot here, at the same latch of their tilt. Yes, and they are very different. So let me park it in the driver's seat here. In the driver's seat, this is my field of view. Now, I'll pause the camera and get into the passenger seat. And this is my passenger field of view. As a matter of fact, you can actually see that's the blue tint of the windshield, because my eyes are a lot closer to it. And, well, my head is actually touching the headliner, and this is not a sagging headliner by any means. So, yeah, Escort chair rails just do not work in these cars, and it doesn't. Here, I'll even get fully inside the car, in case you think that changes things. It certainly doesn't. And if I go further forward, the situation's even worse. Now my head is actually, I have to bend my head, otherwise I am going to ruin the headliner. Versus over there, I could fit my fist above it. So I'll turn the camera just so you can see. Hey, there we go. You can see that my head is actually touching here in the passenger seat. I'll pause it. All right, and now I'm over in the driver's seat that has the LN7 EXP chair rails. And you can see now that I could almost fit my whole fist over my head. What my head was touching in the passenger seat. Now that's over here, I got about 2 inches of clearance, because there is that 2-inch drop between the Escort chair rails and the EXP chair rails. Possibly if I set the camera like this, you'll see a big difference here. Let's get the out of the way. So how about that, huh? I don't know if you guys can tell from there, but sitting in this one, the one next to me is loads higher. Like I said, it's about 2 inches higher. So in an EXP or LN7, this is just going to be a no-go. Even if I had the convertible, I can't be looking out, staring at this. This isn't going to work. And then while Before I could see all the way across my hood. Like if I was up those 2 inches, I couldn't see across the hood. Look at that. The rear view mirror's in the way. Even if I were to raise it a little bit, yeah, because it's flush. Even if I were to raise it a little bit, it would still be in the way. I wouldn't be able to make left-hand turns without, someone coming upon me. So that's just not wise, just not safe. So, yeah, in the EXP Round 7, it's best to stick to those chair rails. Now in an Escort, you can switch to the EXP chair rails. That's not a problem. Like I said, it'll just lower your field of view from about here to about here. It doesn't change anything safety wise. You're not exactly diminishing how safe you are as far as your field of view goes. But it does feel a little bit more sporty. You're lower to the ground. Stuff feels faster than what it is this way. I do know that. But yeah, those are the big differences. And like I said, if you know why some of those Escort chair rails had the stop and others didn't, do say so in the description. Do say so in the comments, but if I find out, I'll say so in the description. I'll write that down for you. And if I figure out what years of these are what, I'll also put that in the description along with all the different heights and travels. I should say that aside from that one that has the bump stop, the Escort and EXP chairs do have the same exact travel. I have both of these as far back as they will go. I'll quick move them up as far as they go, and you'll see it's about the same, just because back seat access has to be the same between the Escort and the EXP, because the floor pans are the same, the door length is the same, even though the door height is the same. Oh, look at that. The EXP one travels about an inch further. Okay. So there is that too. If you have a 2-door, putting in the EXP one will actually grant you a little bit more leg space for your passengers. Not that you could actually drive like this, but to get someone in the back seat, it's going to be more easier with the EXP one. Even when we fold these seats down, the EXP one is going to give you a bit more room for your feet. I have big feet. These shoes are 15Ws. There's plenty of room on that side. We go over to this side, and now there's not room to get my foot in the long ways. So something to keep in mind if you have a coupe or an Escort GT or a Lynx RS. Switching to the EXP chair rails would probably be beneficial for you. Primarily if you ever carry people in the back, but then secondly, it'll be a little bit easier to clear your head from the roof getting in, but crawling out may be tricky if you have a bad back or weak knees. But otherwise, riding lower to the ground does give it a more enjoyable, sporty ride. But that's obviously up to your guys' discretion. But I'll stop the video here because I talked about everything I wanted to, and like I said, this will replace my other one, so I'll just remove that, and this will be all there is, and we'll catch you later.